we've grew up in most black men grew up in a situation where you ain't weren't taught to say that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, sometimes people can't even come up with the words or the verbiage to say, "Hey, I'm not good right now."
Right.
I mean, our actions may act it out based upon maybe getting addicted to something,
Right.
or just being having bad behavior. But to say that, and to say that and feel that what you say is going to be valued and someone's going to help you with that. I don't know if too many black men, historically specifically, but even up to now, feel comfortable even saying that, being that they're not going to be considered soft or weak,
Right.
or if you're in a relationship, feel like whoever you're with saying, well, you're weak, you're soft, etc. And then for the men that you connect with, saying to men, toughen up,
Right.
stick it
Yeah.
out,
Right. Yeah, I mean that's that's a great point that you just raised. One of the things that it kind of correlates with is also and since you're the single guy between us both, I mean it's kind of like I'm going to try to explore what are you seeing out there in terms, because we hear so much, we watch YouTube, we see the conversations.
Yeah, we don't know, man. We don't
Right.
know.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I want to know if it's because I mean, for you, you're one of those I would say young men who have a good head on your shoulders. You have you're on top of your finances. I mean, on top of things. You wanna you're focused to
Great career.
great career, everything. So I mean, you are, for me, it's kind of like one of the things that I would say out there is that I mean, you are somebody who's legible, right? A legible bachelor, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what are you seeing out there in terms of are you inclined to be married, or like are you based upon what's out there, or are you like, no, we'll wait a little bit longer? And based upon that your answer, I'll raise, because one of the conversations we have with a marriage counselor is the ideal time for a man to be married and a woman to be married. Right, to be in a marriage relationship. So is marriage part of your goals in life, or is it something that if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
So most definitely, I think marriage is definitely in my future. I will say in this single dating pool and with the age of social media, things are a lot more visual. So I have to center myself and not see something and believe it's good before I do my own research or my own in-depth view of what it actually is. So growing up through the social media area, it's easy to see something that looks good and imagine that it is. And then when you get the time, you start putting the time into it, you start developing a relationship with the women or whatever it is in life. It could be women, it could be a job or anything like that. You see like the glorious sights of it, or you see the edits, and you don't really get to see the nitty gritty of it. And with everything being had, the conversations, everybody's being pitted against each other. Well, when women not doing this, well, men not doing that. Well, how can men ask for this and not provide this? And it's like, it's so transactional in the sense of, well, you got to provide and protect, and women have to nurture, but we're not trying to come together to find a centered basis of what a relationship is actually built upon. And I'm trying to sift through all what I say the garbage is,
Right,
to find something that actually has value.
Right.
And a lot of times in myself, I can get distracted in that sense. So I think having that own personal grounding myself, developing myself, I'm able to view things and visualize things, or pick what is actually good and what is actually bad. So I don't allow kind of how society has geared towards to hinder what my actual thought or goals is. Of course, I want to be married. I want to have a family. I think there's so much power in having a woman by your side.
right,
Because
the right woman.
the right woman.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely the right
Right.
woman, because there's a lot of women that just want something out of you but
Right.
don't really care who you are.
Yeah, it's a transactional relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
And so let me ask you this: do you? We getting real, right? All right. So how do you filter?
How do I filter? Trial and error.
Okay.
So, of course, I try not to bring my insecurities or past traumas into new relationships, but I don't discount the lessons that I've learned, and seeing these red flags or things that don't make sense or coexist in what I believe in to be blinded.
Okay.
I feel you learn something from everything in life, whether it's good and even more when it's bad, right? Because that's really takes the time like, hey, what did I do wrong or what did I not do enough to add to this? Because everybody wants to blame other people, but they don't want to take the accountability for themselves that they've added into those situations. And I've been trying to have more extreme ownership of my own self and seeing what I'm putting out there to attract the things that I've been attracting. Because honestly, I believe the relationships, yes, it is a union, but it starts with the individuality of a person. Because I can't get into a relationship with somebody when I still haven't figured myself out.
Right.
Because I'm going to bring those same insecurities, I'm going to bring those same pitfalls into our relationship. And now somebody's trying to pour into me or I'm trying to pour into them, and we're not doing our work ourselves to help build that union.
Right.
So definitely working on that more.
Well, I think because we mentioned it, and most people who own homes, and you're a rarity, so I know you top quality, is most people own homes usually have to do it with someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually, and it's just because of the affordability.
Yeah.
And or you just need and I see the lack of home ownership with black people at, was it 42, 44%?
Yeah, about 43%.
43%. And we're dead last.
Yeah.
But also we're dead last and least likely to be in relationships, married.
Right.
Which I also believe contributes to that. Because, black men individually, okay, you do fine.
Right.
Black women individually, okay, they're doing very well, doing much better than they've done any time in history.
Yes,
Right.
for sure.
And you put them two together, and home ownership is a possibility anywhere across the United States, even California. And because of the lack of us connecting, and I don't want to make it just transactional, you get with someone just so you could buy a house.
Right.
But
it's a huge part of the relationship,
it's a huge part of it. And owning a home creates such a great foundation for your offspring and for their offspring, and et cetera, et cetera. And so, I want to commend you from becoming a homeowner, one. But, you don't mind me, how old are you?
28.
28? Okay, this brother's still in his 20s. Okay. Yeah. Okay, you got some time. So when I bring up how you filter, do you filter based upon, looks, religion, or spiritual beliefs, race, height? Like, how are we filtering nowadays?
Looks do play a part. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
gotta be
let's
attractive.
be real.
I gotta be attractive.
Let's
to
be
who it
real.
is.
It plays like 50, over 50%.
Yeah,
50%
I'm not
plus,
gonna be the one to sit here and say personality. Like I have to
You're
first be
28,
attractive.
man. Yeah,
I have to first be attracted to somebody, right? So that's the start.
Right.
And then after that, like I don't want to say somebody having a different religious belief than me is like a no-go, but I want them to believe in a higher power. I feel like all religions have a basis in believing something beyond yourself, right? Whatever name you want to give your God or anything like that. I think that is honestly kind of a deal breaker. I want you to believe in something, right? Have a little bit more on a spirituality sense, right? Because I think that's a basis of people's personality, and that also can be a basis of how they develop in life. But then again, I'm definitely looking for somebody who has something going for themselves. Like they have to have some type of drive. I don't want somebody to be stagnant. I don't want somebody to sit here and rely solely on another person to do anything in their life, right? I have to bring something in your life, and you also have to bring something in my life. This is not a one-way street. I can't be doing everything and then trying to drag you along. You have to build me up in areas that I'm not great in just as much as I have to build you up in areas that you're not great in. So I believe looks, goes into it, but I'm not big on height and race and things like that. Actually, I ain't even gonna lie. I want a black woman. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I want a black woman. So
You telling two men who married to black women.
yeah,
Right,
most definitely.
right.
Yeah. I think there's a different power.
I
in
mean,
black women.
and that's the thing. I mean, love is love. I always tell people love is love. I mean, it doesn't matter the race, but at the same time, too, I believe that that one of the things about it is that similarities are always important.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're seeing is that the conversations that we're having, especially is within our community, and I think that's something that's actually it's needed, but it's sometimes way out there. You know, some of the things that are being said, but there's some truth to it, right? And I think this is our way of actually dealing with it, because there's some traumas that are coming that come with it, right? Especially in our community. So one of the things that I always say is that we see that there is a prevalence of, because number one, you see that the demographics in our community have changed. You see that black women are now the number one educated women with college degrees in the United States. So that with that comes some form of independence, right?
Yes.
And you see that's a narrative that's been pushed now. And I'm talking from a marriage perspective, which I've done it twice. You know, so I would say that the first time it was a learning experience. Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
How did it form? What did I learn from this?
Right.
What was the purpose of this? And then this experience, I'm still learning, but at the same time too, I actually implemented what I learned from my last marriage. And I'm not recommending that route. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Gotta learn somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time,
But you get it how you get it.
Yeah.
Right. But what I say with that is that you'll find that in two income households, which is needed right now because the economy we live in, right? Especially in our community, and there's a narrative that's being pushed for more single parent homes, right? We find that coming from that, you'll find that more women are seeing that us as competition and our collaborators, right? So with that,
that's a big point right there.
With that, you'll find that number one is it's like the masculine traits are being kind of equalized, which is something that we've kind of like most men have never really experienced before, right?
Yeah.
Some men are being okay with it because they grew up in that, but at the same time too, when you have men who are born to lead and the traditional man, as they say, it's an adjustment, right? Are you seeing that a lot, or because I mean, for me, it's kind of like in a married household, yes. I think a woman allows or respects a man enough to give him the lead.
Yeah.
Right? Respects what he says, even though he might be wrong. Right? But at the same time, too, there's a man's, I think, thrives, or his growth is based upon respect.
Most definitely.
Around him. Right? So, and especially respect from his woman. What are you seeing around, like, in terms of that? Because, I mean, that's where the conversations I see a lot of is.
I believe there are a lot of masculine women, but I think they're a product of their environment. So, not to go too deep into this, but just essentially how black men are being removed from household, it's required women to be more masculine. So they've had to hold the household together. They've had to raise sons. They've had to raise daughters. And though it hasn't been the perfect way, they've been doing the best that they can. And these same ideas and these same traumas are imparted onto the daughters that they're raising or the men that they're raising. So as they're growing up, that's all they've ever seen. Not everybody gets to see a happily married household where you have a father and a mother in it to produce them or to teach them how true love and respect goes.
Right.
Because the father is extremely important in the household, and so is the mother, right? The mother and the father's relationship with their child is the first true relationship they have with the opposite sex or the same sex. And they teach them how to love and what it requires to respect a man or what it requires to respect a woman. And when you remove one of those facets from that equation, then you have these more masculine women, right? And then they continue to perpetuate these stereotypes or perpetuate this type of living. So now it makes them essentially a little bit more masculine, and the men are trying to come back into the picture after the years of being systematically separated from those relationships in those households.
Right.
And we're trying to like, well, look, I'm back. I'm really trying to show you love. I'm really trying to show you what a man is like, but they've never seen that. So realizing that takes a lot of work from them.
Right.
So I try not to discount some of the masculine women, though I'm not saying that they should forever stay in that state.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They have to learn how to transition. And essentially, like you said, I think everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be in a relationship. So you have to learn that maybe the stereotypes that you have are not the situation that you're trying to build.
Well, that's how we're built. We're built to be around people. We're built to have relationships with people.
Yes, most
And
definitely.
anytime you act like that's not a part of your nature, then you're going against your very nature.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're not being truthful for yourself. And
Yeah.
the most important thing is truth and being honest. And just like you mentioned earlier, it's like, hey, I'm not good right now. You're
Yeah.
being honest, and then you can get the help you need. And a lot of us in relationship wise are saying, look, I'm not good right now because I don't know if I had to pick me, if I would pick me.
Yeah.
And
That's a
That's
good
a big
statement
one.
there.
That's a big one right there.
right. Well, that's that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
am I someone that someone wants to be with? That's the question you should ask. Because
Right.
too many times we ask the question, what do I want?
Right.
Which is,
Or we try to
Perfectly
fix
fine.
the other person.
we try to fix the
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
person.
Right.
But am I the type of person that someone wants to be with?
Right.
That if they had a kid with me, they would be happy to say my kid is just, I would be happy if my kid was just like you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, both ways.
Right.
If a man had a kid with a daughter with a woman, I'd be happy if my daughter was just like my wife.
Right.
Or if a woman had a kid with a man, I'd be happy if my son was just like my husband.
Right.
So oftentimes, especially us as a culture, and you hit it right on the head, you know, we compete instead of collaborate.
Yeah.
And those at the bottom tend to compete, while the most successful people who are millionaires and above tend to collaborate.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we have to look at those who are already being successful. What are they doing?
Right.
The majority of the time Black people have been in the United States, we saw the importance of family. We
Right.
knew the importance. We had a
Right.
very strong family bond. In fact, the highest rate of women who are married in the United States for many years were Black women.
Yeah.
And now they're dead last. You have to ask yourself what has happened. Well, men left the house. Did Black men all of a sudden just turn bad?
Right.
No. Or were there systems set up to make sure that the Black man wasn't in the house,
That's exactly it.
to be dependent on someone else,
Right.
on something else? And it's gotten to a point where both sides, men and women, have really focused on the importance of us, as if we're going to grow as a community, we have to have strong families. And that's men and women getting to marry
Right.
and having children and allowing their children to grow in the best environment possible.
Right.
So many oftentimes that we say, okay, I want our group or our culture to do better, but at the same time, hate on the other gender. Both sides do it.
Right.
Yep.
It's not just one side. Both sides do it.
Or
And it's like,
or demasculate, or what do you call it?
women emasculating men and
Right.
men treating women like objects.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're just there for a transaction. All you're good is if you ain't cooking, cleaning, and giving me regular,
Cooking, cleaning, not twerking.
love, you're not worth it. Why be with you?
Right.
Woman looks at a man, if you ain't making six figures and you ain't 6 foot, got a six pack, why am I with you? That type of thing. And it's like, no. You ain't perfect. The person you gonna be with ain't perfect.
Right.
You're talking about you gotta feel, you feel your love in with someone else. It should be feeling you.
Yeah.
This relationship thing should really be a friendship.
Right.
Those are the longest lasting one.
Right.
And it's not transactional, it's relational.
Right.
And it's the best way for us to build as a community is
Right.
to making sure that we're building families. But on top of that, and this I want you to hit on that too, before we start families, I think the most important thing a man can do is find their purpose
Right.
Yep.
before they start a family.
That's true.
Hit on, because I know that's something you talk about.
Yeah.
Hit on the importance of, especially with the mental health, the Black man on finding their purpose.
I think your purpose makes way for everything, right? In a biblical sense, when God made Adam, he had him tend to the garden before he gave him everything.
Amen.
And as he tended to the garden, then God provided him for a woman to be his helpmeet. So that tells me that I need to figure out what my purpose is in life is before I even worry about building a relationship with anybody else. Because purpose and creation is the thing that makes men men. Right? The first thing God tells you about himself is that he's creative.
Say that one more time.
The first thing God tells you about himself is that he's creative.
Right.
So that tells me if I'm made in God's image, the first thing about myself is I need to be creative.
Right.
So I need to create something with the gifts that God gave me to, and work towards my purpose. And when I'm working in my purpose, everything is aligning.
Right.
I'm getting all the things that I've ever asked for. I'm getting all the trials and tribulations, all the lessons that I've learned. And then God puts that woman in my life because now I've learned to delve into work in my purpose. So now I have the ability to give that woman whatever she needs and requires out of me. And the same for her to do the same thing. So I believe finding your purpose is the most important thing. And a lot of times it takes a long time. Some people a long time to figure it out, and some people a short amount of time. And we get into comparing, which is comparing is the thief of all joy. You compare yourself to other people, and you're like, well, why I'm not in that position? And that even further puts off individuals' purpose.
Right.
So whatever you do in life, you need to figure out, hey, what do I do naturally? Like, what comes easy to me? And how do I relate this to give people in this world what God put me on this world to do?
That's I mean, I have a little bit of a different take on that. I mean, because you hear purpose being like thrown around so many different layers to it, you know, like what's your purpose? Purpose-driven life, live life with purpose, right? But there's a lot of people who's still trying to figure that out in true trial and error, right? I've kind of come to understand, yes, that's a good way of actually kind of like aligning yourself with as anybody, as a man, woman, of what is it that you are destined to do. And and the thing about it is that I think we've kind of made it more of a holistic thing where it doesn't. If you find your purpose, you're going to enjoy life.
Right.
All right. So I mean, I say, what I tell, especially people, is that life is hard, right? You never.
Sure is.
But it's true those tough situations that that kind of molds you into who you should become, or who you're going to become.
But the purpose allows you to do what is hard for most. It's I don't want to say easy.
No, and that's the thing.
But
See, and
it's you can get through it.
Right, you can get through it, but at the same time, is that tough, those tough situations that mold you, right?
Well, like you are in real estate,
Right.
and you've been at real estate for a long time. And real estate's a tough business to be in.
It is. No, well, and that's the thing. No, it's not. But it's like this. Any business is tough.
But your purpose,
Like what you do is tough, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's hard, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to leave for a certain any type of job you do, even being a technician or being, it's tough. You know.
Well,
But what I always say is this: if you strive to become the best version of yourself with what you do consistently, right? I mean, because when you figure out your purpose, you're going to build a habit, right? Because everybody, when they figure, I want to do this, it's motivation comes first, right? The motivation is there. You want to do this. It's kind of like when we're looking for the house. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and that it wasn't easy, right? Because we ran into some obstacles. I was kind of like, when we ran to the obstacle, I was like, man, I hope he doesn't give up, right? You know, so for me, I know I had to dig a little bit deeper, but on the surface.
but because you have a purpose for what you do,
right? But
it's easier for you to get through that obstacle.
but
Not saying it's hard,
yes,
but it's easier for you to get through it because your purpose is beyond. Look, you already sold him the house,
so this
and he's sitting right here.
So this is what I would say, and what I would say is this: I strive for the tough times now in my life. At 45 years old and 47 years old, I look forward for the tough times now, right? Because I try to make myself, and this is what I tell myself every day, is that I am comfortable being uncomfortable. Because it's kind of like diamonds are not made based upon because they're supposed to be diamonds, right?
Pressure.
It's made under pressure, right? And that's what I'm saying. It's like the purpose of you're going to find your purpose once you go after and you believe in, number one, you create some form of discipline in what you want to do consistently.
Well,
right. that the purpose is going to come anyway, because you're going to realize, hey, this is something that I'm really good at. Because you're going to get good at, you do something over and over and over and over and consistently again.
Right.
You're going to get good at it.
But
Right.
but there's another component to it, is you do it pretty much every day. What's your job title at the Navy? You're in the Navy, right?
Yeah, I'm in the Navy. I'm a surface warfare officer.
Surface Warfare Officer.
Yeah.
Okay, and tell me specifically what it is that your job title does.
Okay, so the totality of a surface warfare officer eventually is to be the captain of a naval vessel. So as of right now in my pipeline, I'm the navigation officer. So I do literally all the planning. I'm like the GPS for a ship. So I do all the planning. I do all the research on depth of the ocean, where we need to turn, how far we need to be, how fast it takes us to get there. Literally all the obstacles, I clear them so that the ship stays wet and does not end up on land.
And so let me ask you this.
What
then.
you do, I know you're going to hit on this.
Yeah.
What you do is like the perfect example of how people should pursue their purpose. What you do every single day. It's our goal is to get here. And you said it. This ship don't go anywhere unless I'm on it.
Right. So with that, would you say that your job requires a form of discipline? Because if you're late to your job, or right. So if you're late, right. So if you say if you wake up one day, because every day I believe we all of us wake up with a choice. Our life where we're at today is based upon the choices we make. Until death, we'll be making choices, right?
Yep.
So if you wake up today and say, "Oh my gosh, I don't feel like it,"
I don't get that choice.
right? Yeah, exactly. So because that means you holding you. If you don't feel like it and you decide, hey, I don't want, and that feeling takes over your decision making, right? You are going to delay everybody else on a ship, right? Or it could put a lot of people in danger, right? So I mean, at the same time too, that's what I'm saying. It's like nobody really knows what their purpose is until they really start becoming the best version of themselves, right? Because I always believe that number one, it's like you have to, if you like something, motivation, you're going to be motivated to do it, right? But at the same time too, there's like somebody put it like the best way to determine obstacles are an indication that a goal has been set.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so when obstacles come, which is going to come, the doubt is going to come, the people who are against you are going to come, the haters are going to come, right? They're there all day long. They are going to come, right? So even though you're saying, okay, I'm going after my purpose, you're going to run into obstacles. You see, when you only depend upon the holistic form of motivation to say, okay, well, I'm going after my purpose, that's when the procrastination comes in, right? It creeps in because now you're like, oh, maybe I can put it off for another day. Because it's raining outside, I don't want to do it, right?
Right.
Or you say, okay, because this is happening in my life. But the people who actually do figure out what their purpose is and be successful at it, you realize that they consistently do it over and over, no matter what.
But they also have to do what you do every single day. Plan.
Right.
See what the dangers are. First, where are you going?
Yeah, where am I going?
Where are you going? That's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
And then two, okay, now that I know where I want to go, what are the dangers of where I'm going? Is that second?
Yeah, so once I figure out what I got to go, I got to do all the planning. So
Okay.
what time do I need to be there?
Okay.
What are the possible dangers that I could find in the ocean that can keep me from doing it? And then that goes into the planning for sure.
And then from there, you get the right resources to help you get there. Because the goal is to get there.
Yes.
Right.
And so I think most black men don't know how to get there. One is, I don't know if a lot of black men know where they want to go first. They're just wandering in the ocean somewhere. And then also the part of it is teaching them, okay, where do you want to go? But part of it is understanding what your purpose is. Once you understand your purpose, this is leading me to where I want to go.
Right.
And then,
so how would somebody determine what their purpose? Because I mean, that's not taught in schools, right? So it's kind of like how would somebody determine? Because I mean, when you look at the Bible, right?
Because school is not there to
right.
teach you how to find your purpose.
No,
Yeah.
not
So
at
when you
all.
look at the Bible, you see that a lot of almost every like even Moses discovered his purpose. John discovered his purpose, but the journey there was filled with like doubt, insecurities, pitfalls, until they decided to do it and go forward and do it. And even if when they decided to do it, it was still filled with pitfalls. So it's kind of like this. What I've come to believe is that your purpose will be discovered once you are moving forward and not giving up, basically. So it's
Right.
kind of like once you learn how to overcome a lot of obstacles, it's kind of like you learn how to like just follow your desire to become the best version of yourself. Because becoming the best version of yourself doesn't mean it doesn't mean physically. It means mentally, spiritually, and physically. Right? Things start aligning for you in terms of you start becoming more solution based. You start becoming more positive. You start becoming more of a person that people can depend on.
Right.
It's kind of like this. I can't go to somebody and say, I don't know what my purpose is or what is my purpose and expect them to entrust me. Because if you were to go ask your superior officer, you know what's my purpose? I don't know. They'll kind of look at you like, okay, well, should we put him in charge of a ship, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like this is where I said, I mean, your purpose is going to come once you discover your true strengths and your strengths internally in yourself.
And that's trial and error.
Right, trial and error. It
definitely
becomes-
trial and error.
Yeah, true trial and error. So I always tell everybody, it's like, don't stay stagnant because you don't know what your purpose is, right? Keep becoming that best version of yourself, and sooner or later you'll figure it out.
So, what do you tell men on how to navigate that journey of finding their strengths to get to the purpose?
So the way we kind of do it is based off your gifts, right? When you're put on this earth, you have a gift. It's inherent to you. Like some people may have the same gift, but they don't know how to do it the same way that you do.
Right.
And the way I think about it is in tune with the things that you do naturally with ease. Now, to Clinton's point, yeah, it's not going to be a straight line thing. Right. In the Navy, I'm given essentially a purpose, whether it's not really my purpose, but I'm given a purpose.
Right.
I know what my job is. So it's easier to navigate going to that because I
Right.
know what I have to do.
Right.
But in life, it's not like
No,
that.
yeah.
You're driving around in circles, and then you may touch on the gift every once in a while. You may do it, and then people are like, yo, you should be good at this, and you kind of doubt it.
Right.
Or you may do something, you're like, yo, that was really easy, and you kind of glaze over it for a long time, which I
Right.
did, right? I glazed over what I believe my gift is my voice, like
Right.
how I speak, how I talk to people and the things that I can impart. But I glazed over that for a long time before
Yeah.
I actually figured it out. So
Because it comes so easy, it's like that's not a gift.
yeah, that's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you kind of discount it. You're like, well,
Right.
nobody really wants to hear what I have to say.
Right,
right.
Nobody wants to listen to me. And then people are like, yo, this is
And that's
great.
that's the doubt.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a doubt because
That's the
everything
doubt, right.
when you like you make a decision, right? When distraction follows intention. So once you have intention, all the distraction starts coming. The
Right.
doubts, the things that take you off your purpose, the things that take you off your course are going to come. So you're going
Right.
to have doubts about you, about yourself, but you got to get through that. You got to sift through that stuff, right?
Right.
I spent a lot of times having doubts about the gifts that I had and the things that I did easy
Right.
until one day it clicked.
Right.
And I said, why am I so focused on trying to prove to other people what I know in myself I'm able to do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it takes almost that outer body experience to realize that a lot of people, they're trying to distract you from your gift or your purpose because they haven't found theirs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
110%.
they want to drag
Right.
somebody, they want
Right.
to drag you down because they see, well, he's so confident in what he's doing.
Right.
Why am I not?
They're distracting you from your
Right.
gifts because they don't know what their
They don't know
purpose
what theirs
is.
is. Yeah,
Right.
they don't know what theirs is.
Right. Like so because I always
Yeah, some
look at
good
it like
points.
this
I
too,
like
man. Like say because I on the other in the extreme, like we have people who are very good, smart people who are in jail.
Yeah.
Who've committed crimes, very smart criminals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drug dealers running huge multinational organizations, but you know what? They're gifted, but it's. I mean, can't we say that they haven't found their purpose?
Well, you can say
Right?
some of the best drug dealers have really gifted minds
Right.
on how to run a full blown
When you talk
operation.
about logistics.
Now, I
Right.
know it's not a popular opinion,
Right.
but drug dealers are some of the greatest businessmen in the
Right.
world.
that's,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
so
You
true.
got to
Right.
network. You got to
Yeah.
communicate. Hey, this is my
Right.
turf. That's your turf.
Right.
You got to figure out how do I get this to this area
And be covert at the
and
same
be-
time.
Exactly. So they're great businessmen, but I just think that what their gift was, it was cultivated in the wrong environment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
You know,
what
absolutely.
I would say to this is that for me, I've kind of come to discover there's three things that I look at when it comes to figuring out purpose in terms of your gift or whatever. It has to be congruent, ecological, and logical. Right. So I mean, because at the same time too, there's so many people who are, and that's why I say it's a lot of times there's so many people who are gifted but in the wrong environment. Right. So we might see them as actually, okay, well, he doesn't know his purpose, right? But he's using the skills and abilities that he has to the wrong thing, right? Because it's not congruent. Right, so when it's not congruent, it's not lawful. It's
Well,
not.
your gift should be beneficial to the whole overall
Right,
body.
right.
And
so it should be lawful, and then
Right.
it should be ecological. It should benefit everybody
Right.
around you, and then it should be logical. It should make sense, right? It has to make sense,
Right.
right? So I mean, you can say that my gift is because there's some people who are gifted with numbers, and all they know is stats.
well, let me ask you this too, though, because when we think of gifts, we think of this big overall. I'm gonna do something so grandiose and great, and sometimes, most times, people's gifts are not that. Because with that comes a lot of responsibility. How do you talk to men when their gifts or their purpose isn't to be this great leader of an organization or whatever, but it's to just play their role in something that they are good at doing?
I think sometimes it's very hard to communicate, right? Because
Okay.
everybody wants to believe that their gift or purpose is going to change the world or it's going to be the grandest thing.
Right.
And that honestly, that's not always the case. Some people's purpose may be to fail to influence somebody else to have a bigger purpose.
Amen. Say that again, man.
Some people's purpose may be to fail to influence somebody else to have a bigger purpose.
Right.
Somebody's whole life purpose could be to do all these things wrong and to figure it out and to aspire one individual to do
Right.
something else, right? And a lot of times that's very hard to swallow, to understand that what you thought your purpose is or what you thought your gift was is not this grand thing that everybody's going to
right,
praise.
right.
And I haven't figured out a greatest way to communicate that to individuals. And hey, your purpose may not be to be the biggest star in the world. Your purpose may just to lead your family.
Right.
To just have this, you know what I'm saying, this cultivated environment of love and, you know, individualism, or to teach your children to do different things. And now your children may be that great individual.
Right.
And I think it comes with that of not comparing, right?
Right.
Not comparing to what everybody else
You
has.
said it so great. I mean, comparison is the enemy of
football
success.
too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, of happiness too. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, and that's the thing. It's like we live in this world right now today where we compare what is success. Like we have this narrative of what is success. And if you ask most people what is success, it's like if you're an entertainer, you want to be like what, Jay-Z? Yes. I mean, or you want to be like Michael Jackson. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time too, you might be able to get that, but are you going to be happy with where you're at? Right? Are you really? I mean, are you going to? And that's why I always say it's like, if you got to be competing with yourself consistently,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, it doesn't matter what the other person is doing. If you figure out you're gifted at this, just do it to the best of your ability,
Right.
right?
And sometimes people's purpose may not even be their specific job that they do.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Most definitely.
I mean, your purpose could, like you said, it could be just being a great father, or being a great
Right.
husband, or being a leader in your church, or being a servant at your church, or some type of group or whatever.
Right.
That overall the body has a major influence.
Because I mean, success is like we live in a country too where you can become successful at spitting. You know what I'm saying? Like
You could-
spitballs,
honestly, you could be
right, and make a
successful at
ton of money on that.
You
right?
said spitting?
Yeah, just spitting. Like,
Spitting.
yeah,
Oh, I thought
yeah.
you meant. I thought I was.
That-
in my
yeah,
mind
I know,
thinking
just
rapping.
rasping
Yeah,
around.
but
You know what I'm
okay.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, the most simplest things that we think are not because of comparison and because of what we think is irrelevant, right, or not important. These are the things that a lot of times that gifted at that and you do it consistently and just compete with yourself every day, just become a better version or just become better at it, better every day.
Yeah.
Right? That's all. You know, I mean, yes, the gauge is there. People have accomplished, but they might be way more talented than you ever will be. Right? And they already set that gauge. You don't have to compete with them. You compete with yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you're going to become good at it.
Yeah.
Right? It's our God has made us in a way where we're the number one, the best supercomputers. We download stuff and implement it.
Well,
right?
also what the great philosopher Malcolm Gladwell says in his book, I'm trying to remember the book, but he talks about the 10,000 hours,
Right.
to be in the top 1% at what you do.
Right.
So whatever it is that you do well, try to understand what that is as quickly as possible.
Right.
Because to maximize it to the best of his ability, you do have to go through a lot of trial and error.
Right.
And it's going to take about 10,000 hours, which typically is about 8 to 10 years of doing that thing consistently before you become a lead expert in that
Right.
thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like an hour a day it takes. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, we can go on, but we want to touch on home ownership. We haven't touched on home ownership.
Oh man, we got 7 minutes left.
We haven't touched on home ownership. Yeah. So home ownership, man. I mean, this is something that I'm passionate about, especially when it comes to Black home ownership. Being first vice president for CURAB, California Association of Real Estate Brokers, we look at a lot of statistics. We try to focus on making sure that our community is benefiting from home ownership, which was like me, for me, the drive to make sure that you understood that this opportunity is not something that's given to many, especially at your age, right? So when we kind of connected, my goal was to make sure that yes, you get into a home. Not only that you get into a home, but you're comfortable in purchasing a home and making sure that it's affordable and you can maintain long term. When you got into a home, it made me understand that, and I want you to really understand that this is something the foundation that's gonna set you up for generations. Yeah. One should do it the right way, right? And for me, I said, okay, well, I want to be a resource for you when you have any questions, anything like that, because you're inspiring. Because at 28, you know, I mean, I would say a 28 year, you're thinking about buying a home, you're still not ready. You understand? It's like the average person purchasing a home, especially in our community, starts at around 50 right now.
Really?
So, yeah. It's around 50. People are getting a little bit older when it comes to buying a home right now.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like it between 40 and 50 is when
that
people
sounds
buy
about
the
right,
first
because
one.
when most of the time people hit 50, they hit their financial stride.
Right, exactly. But it's you're talking about when you're talking about the current economy we live in, right? And why home ownership is so important to me is that I'm big on economics, right? So I studied economics when I was younger, after high school. And one of the things that I read, a book I read, it was The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, and how things actually were set up.
Yeah, the
right?
godfather of economics.
Right. I mean, I would say, well, you talk about capitalism, right? So, I mean, in any capitalistic society, economy, you find that there's 3 sets of people, right? And there's the laborers, number one. Then you have the landowners or landlords, and then you have the capitalists, which is the entrepreneurs, right? Those 3 people are what, you have to have those 3 people. The thing that I've come to realize is that landowners benefit from the 2 other categories, because you have the laborers who need a place to live, so they're going to rent from the landlords. Then you have the capitalists who are going to actually use the land and develop it, or capitalize on it, or invest in it, bring value to it. They still need the landowners, right, to purchase or lease from. So when you really look at it, the foundation for any economy is real estate, right?
Amen.
That's one of the foundations. So I mean, if the whole economy was to collapse, right, everything, all commodities and everything was to go down to zero, what people will have to depend on is their ownership in real estate. because that's what it has happened before.
Right,
The example.
right.
So I always tell people it's like owning some form of real estate is not only a safety, but it also creates a safety net for generations and generations to come.
There's people, you
Yeah.
hit it right on the head.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of home ownership, I mean, how would you express in terms of you purchasing a home? And were you in the lead up to it? Because I mean, you're a harder guy to read. You know what I'm saying? right? But in the lead up to it, did you ever get I would say discouraged?
Did I ever
process?
get discouraged?
Yeah.
Oh yes, most definitely. I was discouraged, especially with how everything fell through with the first property I was.
Right.
Like I was like, all right, it's happening, and then it seemed like more distractions and everything came up. But in that sense, I attributed to myself the reason I got discouraged. It was who I was trying to prevent me from who I was trying to become. Right. I think a lot of times when you're still conflicted in the process of not in your growth or not trying to pursue something, growth is kind of very uncomfortable.
Right.
So you kind of want to drag yourself back into that comfort zone you had before.
Right.
So that was the easiest way for me to attribute it to. Well, this didn't work, so I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
So let me go back into my shell and not pursue the whole reason that I started doing this for.
Right.
So of course you get discouraged, right? And it's an abundance of information.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things is putting a mirror to yourself and realize that you don't know everything you thought you did.
Right.
So all these different new terms, these new finances, these different experiences were coming in, and I felt unprepared.
Right.
So it was uncomfortable in that sense of like, dang, I don't know this information. You would tell me certain things that I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I will say I truly thank you for even taking the time to work through all that stuff
Right.
with me, right? That you were kind of that safety net in that sense. Whatever I
Right.
didn't know, I knew I could ask you, and if you didn't know, you would find the answer for it.
Right.
So that gave me that comfortability to keep pursuing. And then also is because I made a decision. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
So whatever comes with this is what I'm going to have to deal with to get to where I want to be.
Right.
So definitely, I think you definitely get discouraged sometimes during home ownership, but when you get it, you're like, okay,
Right.
It's
it
worth
wasn't
it.
as hard as I thought it
Yes.
was.
It's worth it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you said that because number one, I tell everybody it's like this, man. It's like when I go back and ask all my clients, well, what's the toughest part? They say because people buy homes every day. It's
Yeah,
not
they do.
They
be going quick. They be going quick.
Every day, people lease in places every day. Real estate is a commodity that's traded every day, right?
Right.
But when I ask my clients, I'm like, so what was the toughest part? It always comes down to the same thing you said, which is like, it's not that I didn't believe I could buy a home, it's that I didn't believe that I could actually purchase one. It's that I believe that a home could be purchased because already was pre-approved, right?
Yeah.
You had the money, you had everything to buy it, but at the same time, an obstacle came and it created doubt, right? And this is where a lot of times I always have to be able to shift people's way of thinking, right? In terms of home ownership and why is it so important. And it's not even a thing where it's about me being a salesperson. It's more of me helping people understand, hey, you know what? You're going to pay for a place to live. Why not invest in your
Why
home?
not invest?
Right. You know?
We have less than a minute left.
Okay.
So tell us about your podcast and how people can tune into it.
Okay, so it's the Free We Now podcast. It's on all social media platforms at Free We Now. So you can go on Instagram, TikTok. If you want to watch it on YouTube, it's there as well as Spotify if you don't want to actually watch the video and just want to play it in your car. So any platform you can think of at Free We Now, all capital letters.
Nice.
At Free We.
Free,
Free We
hashtag,
Now.
Free We Now.
Hashtag Free We Now.
Okay. Well, tune into that. Mr. Herbert, we are really glad you came.
Hey, I'm glad y'all
Had
had
a
me.
great discussion. We discussed before the show. It's going to go quick.
Yes, it went back quick.
It did go quick. And so congratulations on becoming a homeowner.
Thank you very much.
It's one of the most important things you could do in life
Right.
is to now you own something that has value to it. And you look now and it's like, okay, I have to pay this, but 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, 50 years from now, you're like, one of the best decisions I ever did was buy that home in my 20s.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's along the same lines. Free We Now. It's the
Free
now
we
you're
now.
free. You know.
Now we are free. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, this was great, man. I do appreciate you coming on, Keith. And as I said, I mean, much more the best years are yet to come for you, man.
Yes, sir.
the sky's the limit for you, and I'm definitely proud of you. And I'm proud that you chose me as your real estate agent.
Most definitely, most definitely. Thank you for taking care of me.
We'll see you guys same time, same place in a couple weeks. Until then, peace. We out. Let's talk about it.